artists, welcome to your wolf painting class. My name is Miss M, and in front of you, you should have your sketched canvas, your cup of water, a paper towel, a large brush, and a small brush. Also white, black, and dark blue. Sorry, my white paint is kind of messy because I've been using it a lot. Same with my black, but they should still be okay to go. But the first thing I'm going to have everyone do is wash your brushes just by twirling both of them around in your cup of water, getting them nice and clean, and then tapping both of them onto your paper towel. The first step that we're going to do is we're going to use our big brush with the dark blue and just a little bit of white, and we're going to paint all the sky space, and we're going to be moving our brush around a lot, so we're not going to be in the same space over and over again. And whenever we are a little bit closer to the moon, we will be adding more white to our brush. So let's go ahead and grab our large brush. Again, be sure it's washed and dried. I'm going to grab a lot of dark blue and a little bit of white, just a little bit. And I'm going to start here close to the ground, and I'm going to just kind of start moving my brush and sweeping in all types of directions. So I'm not really going in the same spot. Blue, a little bit of white, and I'm just going to be moving that brush. Again, I'm going to be above the land, and then as I get closer, I do want to kind of keep that same idea, but I want to stay away from painting inside of that land area. So big brush, dark blue, a tiny bit of white, and keep that brush moving. Also be sure not to paint on your wolf. You are getting close, so if you wanted to even make an outline around your wolf or to the left of your wolf, and then just kind of get closer. Staying in this area, so it's kind of like the bottom left. You can go back to more dark blue, back to more white, and I'm just constantly moving my brush. A lot of times it feels like I'm making the letter X with my brush, but I do want a lot of movement with my paint strokes. Back to blue, just a tiny bit of white. And if you feel like you got too much white on your brush, let it dry and then just go back and build some blue on top. I'll go here to the right. I'll even kind of make this line to the right of my wolf. Just gonna paint all this space a nice dark blue. And there is this little area, this kind of triangle shape between the belly and the arms. And I'll go in there and I'll also paint it all dark blue. So I'm starting at the lower part where it's the darkest, away from the moon, working above the land, working around the wolf. I do also like painting the sides, so I'm going to kind of start where the land curves over, make a line, and I'll paint all this space, kind of meeting up to the center of the canvas with this dark blue paint. And again, constantly moving my brush, making sure I get into all those white areas down here. Same on the right side with the land. I'm going to make a line where the land kind of crosses over to the right of my canvas. About halfway up, I'm going to move my big brush. Like so. Make that dark blue sky. And if you want it to be darker, give it a moment to dry and then go back. I'm going to make mine a little bit darker. So I'm going to go back and make my land, or the blue closest to my land, a little bit darker. And I'm just moving my brush, sweeping, just kind of going back and forth, avoiding my best to painting on the land or on the wolf. Going in all types of directions. If I'm going too fast for you, you can always pause the video too, so don't feel like you have to have had this bottom part all done yet. Back to more blue. Make sure I got into all those little white areas. Once I'm done, I am going to go back to more dark blue, so I'm done with the bottom area closest to the land. I'm going to add a tiny bit more white to my brush than I did before. So a little bit more white on my brush than I did before. There's still that dark blue on there, so I didn't wash my brush. And I'm going to work my way up a little bit more. I'm going to come down as well. So I'm going to come up a little bit. And it's mostly this strip right here that I'll be adding some blue, a little bit more white than before. Again, moving my brush, coming into the previous blue a little bit so they work together just a little bit. But I do want it to be a little bit lighter as I'm working closer to my moon. And again, do your best to avoid the wolf. Make sure. And if you want to even get your brush wet, tap it on the paper towel and go over your blue and white. It'll help it move a little bit better. And also, again, like we did before, if you want to go around the wolf, kind of like an outline and then work your way out. And constantly moving that brush, come down a little bit with that little bit of a lighter blue. And then also to the right, blue, a little bit more white than usual. And then now you kind of have a medium blue. Again, be sure to kind of come down on top of the darker blue a little bit so it doesn't look very stripy. You want an area where your darkest blue and your medium blue meet. So somewhere in here, you want them to meet. Again, you're moving your brush. I'm gonna go on the left side of the wolf, make an outline, and then go in there. Move my brush. Blue, a little bit of white, a little bit more than before. You're just gonna making yourself a nice lighter blue. Again, if it turned out too light, let it dry and then go back over it with a little bit more blue. I did it on the left side as well, and on the right side. I'm working more in this middle strip. And if you have any bumps, you want to kind of go over it and smooth it out. You don't want too much of bumps on there. Blue, a little bit more white. I am going to make an outline around the wolf's mouth. And this is all with my big brush still. Move that brush around. Add water to my brush, tap it on my paper towel. That water will help some of the paint seep through the canvas a little bit better. Will help move it a little bit better too. Okay. Get some of that. If I can touch this up with a little bit more blue. All right, so I have my darkest blue. I'm going a little bit more into my medium blue. I am going to bring my medium blue up and around. So I'm going to make this backwards C, and I'm going to do that same blue that I have down here over here to the right. And then I'm going to make another kind of C shape, and I'm going to work on the outside and do some more medium blue. So this same blue is going to work its way up, and it's going to work its way up here to the left too. So blue, a little bit of white, just like we had down here. We're going to work our way up closer. Do not pass this line. I've kind of made a ring around moon. I can even come up a little bit higher. Use that same medium blue to wrap around my moon. So blue, white, and it doesn't have to be lighter. We're kind of using the same blue that was in the middle. It's really going to get light when we get close to our moon shape. Again, move that brush, kind of overlap over the blue that was more in the center. Same medium blue. Go in all types of directions. Add water to your brush if you need to. Tap it on the paper towel and get that blue working just a little bit more. So it's that same medium blue, and now it's just kind of wrapping around to the right of the moon and to the left of the moon. Nice medium blue. I'm going to do the left part where it wraps around, and then to the left of this ring I've made on the outside of the moon shape. Just a little bit more. And then to the top and to the right as well. So more medium blue. Moving that brush. Tap, tap, tap. Go in there and fill in that top space a little more. You can always go back and just remember, if you have a wet paint and another wet paint touches it, they are gonna blend, so they'll work together. But if you're wanting to build a color on top, wait for that first color to dry. Give it a couple minutes or until it's not shiny anymore, and then you can build another color on top. A nice ring. Oops, sorry, I painted that part accidentally with some blue on my finger. The left side above the land, the right side above the land. Use water. The top of your canvas. So pretty much I'm kind of working around my moon with this medium blue. Can get it in a little bit closer now. Nice ring. And if you want to go back, let's say you wanted to go back and make this even darker now that it's a little bit more dry, you can go back on this bottom one and add more dark blue so it sits on top of it a little bit better. Perfect. All right. Get the background nice and neat, exactly how you want it to look. You have your dark blue in the bottom, your medium blue slowly working around your moon. We are gonna get closer to our moon again. We are gonna add more white to our brush. So I didn't even add any more blue, but more white. I tapped it on my paper towel like 5 to 10 times. So once I was done with the medium blue, white, tap it on my paper towel, and then I'm gonna get even closer to my moon. And I'm going to be moving my brush all the way around. I'm going to be going into my medium blue just a little bit as well. It's okay if you get some into your moon shape, that's totally fine. Just be sure with this lightest blue that you've made that you are coming out into the medium blue a little bit as well. You're gonna go all the way around. And if it's too light, go back and add more blue to your brush. If it's too dark, add more white. Just a little bit will go a long way. But I did definitely come out into my medium blue with this lightest blue, so I came out. And if you're having a hard time making a blend, you can add water to your brush, tap it on the paper towel, and then use that as a way to kind of blend it into your previous blue. And your circle doesn't have to be perfect, but be sure you don't lose too much of those lines around your moon, those pencil lines. Perfect. So you just kind of have this light working around it. Again, be sure you're kind of working just a little bit out into your medium blue. once you are done, you're gonna wash and dry your big brush. You're gonna wash and dry your big brush. It doesn't have to be perfectly clean. It's okay if there's a little bit of blue on it, but most of it should be off. And then you wanna wipe off your big brush. I am gonna go into my white. So find a nice clean area of white on your in your paint. And I'm gonna outline the shape of my moon first, and it's okay if it touches the blue. The moon does have a little bit of blue in it as well. If you feel like it's too blue, you can always let it dry and go back to more white. Wipe off some of that blue off my brush. Go back to more white, and just kind of in a round formation, I'm gonna paint inside of it. And again, I went around it, just kind of cleaned up the shape of the moon. And then used white to kind of come in. If you feel like it's kind of hard getting this outline of the circle to be perfect, you can use your small brush too. You can just kind of go around your circle shape. Again, if you feel like it's not bright enough, we got too blue, let it dry, and then just add more white on top of it. Make sure it looks nice and smooth. You can add water to make it look a little bit more smooth. Your next step, once you're done with your moon, is adding stars to your sky. And there's two ways you can do it. Here is the first way. And this is the way if you like a little bit more control. You can use the back of your small brush, dip it into the white, and just kind of have your stars randomly all around in your sky. So the back of my small brush, I'm gonna dip it into the white, and I'm gonna kind of use the back of my small brush like a stamp. The harder I push, the bigger my stars become, and they're very random. So they're just kind of all over the place. And you can add as many stars as you want. Again, back of the brush, push down on it, and you can get your stars in your sky. If you do like more of a splattered look, you can use your big brush, and I'll show you in just a moment. And it's okay if it gets on the moon, you'll kind of clean it up in just a moment. But, and here it's okay if it gets some white on there too, because we will be adding black on top, and the white will not show through. We just have to make sure it's dry so the white and the black don't mix and make it gray. If you're willing to dare, you can use your big brush. You can get it nice and wet. So big brush, nice and wet. Dip it into white paint. And I would always do a practice run. So if you have a piece of paper, do a practice run just so you can get a good feel of it. So water, white paint, and I'm gonna flick back on my brush like so, about 6-8 inches, and I'm gonna just flick where I want. My splatters to be. And again, I would do a practice run, but that's going to give you more of like a splattered look, which looks beautiful now that I see it this way. But be sure you get your big brush nice and wet, add white, and like a mohawk flick back, and you're about 6 inches or so from your canvas and directly over it. All right. And if you're not to this point, you're welcome to pause the video and meet up with us, because we are going to be going into our black paint next. All right, so next thing we're gonna do after you're done with your white, be sure all brushes are clean. Wash and dry my big brush. I'm gonna wipe off the back of my small brush, making sure they're both nicely washed. Get them nice and clean. And I'm gonna paint all of my land all black first with my big brush. So big brush, nice clean black paint. Ignore my dirty black paint from previous classes. But big brush black paint, be sure you don't have too much on there. You can always wipe off the sides. And then I'm gonna start at that top line and make sure no white is peeking through from my land. Just kind of drag it so a nice clean line with my big brush. Going all the way from one side to the next. And don't forget about your land that curves over to the left. So I'll make a line that where the blue and the white meet. Make a black line where the blue and the white meet. And then everything underneath it, including the very bottom of your canvas, will be painted black. Nice long brush strokes, big brush. Get everything nice and clean. I don't want to see any of that white canvas peeking through down here. I also want to make sure everything here is smooth. About the sides, the right side as well. And the very bottom is going to be black. And I'll also make the wolf all black, but I am going to be using my small brush to outline the shape of my wolf first, and then use my bigger brush and my smaller brush to kind of fill it in. So next will be our black wolf. It's a beautiful silhouette. We have all that light in the background, so it's giving it a kind of a silhouette feel. So I'm just gonna put my big brush aside because I'll use black in just a moment, but I'll use my small brush, my black paint, and very carefully just kind of go where the white and the black meet up and outline the shape of your wolf. So you have a nice clean outline, nice long lines. And if your black paint gets a little bit too dry, add water, tap it on the paper towel. It's gonna drag your brush. Just kind of outlining the shape of my wolf. If your black gets dry, add water to your brush, tap it on the paper towel a couple times, and then go over your black and can help it move a little bit easier. And if you do want some wispies of fur, it's up to you. If you like the silhouette how it is, you can keep it how it is, or you can use your small brush and just, the fur is just kind of coming down and diagonal, just barely pushing on my brush. Is just a little bit of fur coming down that way. There's barely any black on my brush. You can do some here on the right side too. There's just barely some wisps of hair down here by the belly. Down here, just little small sweepy movements. My small brush, and there's barely any paint. I'm not going to do any really as close to the face because I want that area to be a little bit clean, a little bit less furry. But all right, so I outlined, and then if you wanted to add some wisps coming down to the left and then down to the right, and then some underneath here, just kind of falling down just a little bit. I am going to use my small brush to kind of get into these little areas a little bit more. And then I can just jump to my bigger brush for the bigger areas. And be sure you don't see any black peeking through, Be very careful to stay inside those lines. Keep everything nice and clean. If you lost any of your line work, you can always go back with your smaller brush and kind of outline a little bit. Just be careful not to go too far out, but you can always clean up your line work by going back and outlining. So there, sure. Go back and touch some of this up while I still have. And then next will be our beautiful tree. It's going to be kind of smaller in here to the left. And we're just going to be using our small brush. And remember, whenever you make the tree, we do want a lot of thinner lines. So a lot of times we are just on the tippy toes of our brush. So once I'm done with the wolf, make sure everything looks nice and smooth. I'm going to use my small brush and my black paint. I'll dip my small brush in my cup of water and twirl it and get it to a nice point. Dip it into the black paint. I'm gonna have my tree over here, and it's not gonna be taller than my wolf. My wolf is more in the foreground. My tree is a little bit further back, so my tree is about this tall. I'm gonna start with the bottom. Just kind of make a line like so. Maybe 1.5 inches high. And then to the right, I'm gonna kind of make a line coming out a little bit more that way too. So I'll make a line coming out like so. I kind of go out to the left and out to the right to where it's kind of growing from my land. And then I'm going to start with the left branch and just kind of go in a clockwise motion with my branches. And again, I am just on the tippy toes of my brush. If you want to do a practice run on your paper towel, you can. But I'm just going to make a line. There's my first line. Here's my second line. Each have a little bit of a curve to them. Start here again. Here's my third line. I'm just on the tippy toes, and I'm almost just going to sweep at the end of these two to kind of create those thinner ends. There's my third line. A little bit of a curve to my line work. And here's my fourth line. Go in here and make this a little bit thicker so it works better. And then I'm going to do one more. Here's my fifth line. Okay, kind of working in that same way. Once I'm done with my 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 lines, then I can go in there and just kind of fill it in a little bit more with branches that are breaking off these 5 main ones. So for the first one, I can just kind of work off the side. Branch kind of comes up a little bit too. Almost breaks out into that Y shape we see a lot. So there's that Y shape. Can even make another branch right here, coming up and diagonal. I'll move to my second branch. Again, kind of breaking off into that letter Y, sweeping at the end. Can even come up higher. Make a second one. I'll go into my third main branch. About middle way up, and then make a line, comes up diagonal, make another one but further down, again up and diagonal. To the right of it, I can kind of start where this top one is, work my way up. Perfect. I can go on to this first, second, third, fourth branch right here, maybe a little bit more black. If your black gets too dry, you can always add a little bit of water. Just be sure to have a nice point and there's not too much water on it. Maybe tapping it on your paper towel a couple times will help, because your brush will soak it up a lot. There's another branch kind of breaking up. Again, you'll see that letter Y in there. And then my last kind of mini branch, I'll just kind of have another one breaking off on that side too. So I have a nice, beautiful tree. I can go in there and make it a little bit taller if I want to. Kind of clean up anything I want as well. Maybe make this part a little bit thicker on the bottom, kind of coming out to the left and to the right. Awesome. And if you feel like you need to go back and fill in any of the areas with branches, you are welcome to. Awesome. And be sure this tree is definitely shorter than your wolf. Be sure everything looks nice and clean. Perfect. Otherwise, I think you have your amazing wolf painting. Hopefully you enjoyed the class, and hopefully you'll come back for more. Have a beautiful day, artists. Thank you so much, Young at Art.